Caroline stood outside the elegant restaurant, looking down at her beige dress now covered in stains. There was mud splashed across the front and faint coffee marks on the sleeves. At 59, she wasn't embarrassed anymore. She had long stopped worrying about what others thought. That morning, she'd been helping her neighbor, Mrs. Wilson, chase down her runaway cat. Then, she went straight to her volunteer shift at the homeless shelter, where she spilled some coffee while serving meals. By the time she got home, she barely remembered that her niece, Rachel, had set her up for a dinner with someone new. Rachel had begged her to go. "Aunt Caroline, he's a nice man. Successful, kind, and he said he wants to meet someone real. Please, just go. What's the worst that could happen?" Caroline had almost laughed. The worst would be wasting an evening pretending to be someone she wasn't. Still, Rachel was so hopeful that she finally agreed. But when the day came, everything went wrong. Between the cat, the shelter, and a dozen small delays, she had just 15 minutes to cross town. No time to change, no time to fix her hair. So here she was, mud-stained, tired, and feeling out of place. For a moment, she thought about going home, to her little apartment filled with rescue cats and second-hand furniture. But something inside her, maybe pride or curiosity, made her push open the restaurant doors. The maitre d' gave her a look that said she didn't belong. "Can I help you?" he asked, clearly doubtful. "I have a reservation," she said. "Caroline Fisher. I'm meeting someone." He checked the list, his eyebrows raised. "Ah, yes, Mr. Whitmore is already here. This way, please." As Caroline walked through the restaurant, she could feel eyes on her. Well-dressed diners glanced at her muddy dress and worn shoes, but she held her head high. She'd survived far worse than judgmental stares. At a corner table sat a man looking out the window. When he turned, Caroline almost stopped. Rachel hadn't told her how handsome he was. Early 40s, dark hair, confident posture, wearing a navy suit that probably cost more than her rent. This must be a mistake, she thought. "Mr. Whitmore, your guest has arrived," the maitre d' announced with a thin smile. The man stood up. Caroline braced herself for that look. Disappointment, pity, maybe even disgust. But instead his entire face lit up. "Caroline," he said warmly, "it's so nice to finally meet you. I'm afraid my niece didn't tell you what kind of mess you'd be meeting," Caroline said with a dry laugh. "I know I don't look the part. I can leave if this is awkward for you." Julian laughed, a genuine deep laugh that made nearby diners turn their heads. "Awkward? Not at all. Please sit. You're easily the most real person I've seen in months." Caroline sat down, still unsure what to make of him. Julian gave the maitre d' a look that sent him scurrying away, then turned his full attention to her. "So," he said, smiling, "tell me about this complicated day of yours." And she did. She told him about the cat, the shelter, and how she barely made it here in time. Julian listened, fascinated. "You know," he said, "most women I meet would have canceled rather than show up without looking perfect." Caroline smiled slightly. "I'm not most women. I'm too old to pretend and too tired to care what strangers think. If that's a problem, I can leave." Julian leaned forward, his voice soft but serious. "It's not a problem, it's remarkable. Do you know why I asked your niece to arrange this dinner?" He paused, then continued. "I've been on 37 dates this year. Every woman looked perfect, said the right things, smiled at the right time. But it was all performance. I couldn't tell who they really were. Then you walked in wearing your day on your clothes and you were just yourself. Do you know how rare that is?" For the first time that evening, Caroline felt her guard drop. "You're serious?" she asked quietly. "Completely. Tell me about your life." The real one, so she did. She told him about losing her husband 20 years ago, raising 2 children alone, working as a social worker, and later retiring to spend her time helping others. She described her small apartment, her cats, and the people she met at the shelter, who reminded her how lucky she was. Julian listened to every word, not interrupting once. When she finished, he sighed. "I run a foundation," he said. "We donate millions to charities, but it's all meetings, reports, and photo ops. I've never actually helped anyone with my own hands." "Not once. Why not?" Caroline asked. "Because I've been too busy being important," he admitted. "Building my company, maintaining an image, living for headlines. Somewhere along the way, I forgot what it's all for." He looked at her with real pain in his eyes. "You're covered in mud from helping a neighbor's cat. When was the last time I did something that real? I don't even remember." "It's not too late," Caroline said gently. You have more resources than most people ever will. You could change lives if you wanted to. Julian hesitated. Will you help me? Teach me how to care again, how to be useful instead of just successful. Caroline studied him, surprised. Why me? Because you're the only person who's told me the truth tonight, he said. You don't try to impress anyone. You just are. Caroline felt something warm stir in her chest. No one had looked at her like that in years. I'm 59, she said softly. I have wrinkles, gray hair, and too many cats. I live simply and volunteer because it gives my days meaning. I'm not glamorous, Julian. Not someone a man like you should want. Julian shook his head. You're wrong. You're everything I should have been looking for. You're kind, real, and brave enough to walk into this place just as you are. That's exactly what I want. They talked for hours, sharing stories they'd never told anyone before about loneliness, about loss, about the masks people wear. Both of them realized they were more alike than they thought. I'm lonely too, Julian admitted, surrounded by people all day but alone every night. Then maybe, Caroline said softly, we can be lonely together until we figure out how not to be. Julian smiled. I'd like that. Starting now. Come with me. They left the restaurant together. He drove her to the part of town where her shelter was. Show me, he said simply. Show me what you do, so she did. She took this wealthy CEO into the shelter, introduced him to the families she helped, and showed him what real need looked like. He listened to their stories, served food, held a crying child while the mother filled out forms. By midnight, they sat together on the shelter steps, his expensive suit now wrinkled, his hair a mess, but his heart open for the first time in years. Thank you, Julian said quietly, for showing me what matters. What will you do with it? Caroline asked. Change everything, he said. The foundation, my priorities, myself. And if you're willing, I'd like you to be part of it. Not as an advisor, as someone I care about. Someone I think I'm falling in love with. Caroline's breath caught. You don't even know me. I know enough, he said softly. You came here muddy, unpolished, and real. You helped people all day and still showed up. That tells me everything I need to know. Caroline looked down at their hands, his smooth, expensive watch beside her worn fingers. They were from different worlds, but somehow that didn't matter anymore. I'm not going to change, she said. I'll still wear mud-stained clothes and take care of cats instead of attending parties. Julian smiled. Good, because I don't want someone perfect. I want someone real. Someone who'll remind me that helping others matters more than appearances. Someone who will love me for who I could become, not for what I already am. They sat there on those shelter steps, two people from different lives who somehow fit perfectly. Around them, the city kept moving. But in that quiet corner, something beautiful had begun. Caroline had come to a blind date expecting rejection. Instead, she found a man who saw her truth and loved her for it. And Julian, who had spent his life chasing success, finally found something he couldn't buy. Someone real. Sometimes, love doesn't show up in perfection, it shows up in truth. And sometimes the most beautiful thing you can be is yourself. Mudstains and all. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, have you ever found something beautiful just by being your true self? If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one. And tell us in the comments, have you ever found something beautiful just by being your true self? Until next time, stay kind, stay real, and remember, sometimes the mud on your clothes tells the most beautiful story of all.